The very first episode of this show opens with a wedding ring, a family, and a man who has everything. By the end of that same episode, his wife's mind is ripped from her body and sealed inside an alien crystal used as a weapon against the people she loved. He survives, gets rebuilt with bionics, and has to go back to work the next day knowing she's still in there. That's episode 1 of a 1986 cartoon called Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, a show with real consequences, real character arcs, and a villain so dark she makes most modern animated villains look soft. And almost nobody today even knows it existed. I'm going to take you through the entire story from start to finish, and trust me, the further in you go, the better it gets. If forgotten classics like this are your thing, hit subscribe and turn on notification bell right now so you don't miss the next one. Before the story can make sense, you need to know the 4 people carrying it, because this show lives and dies on its characters, not its action sequences. First is Captain Zachary Fox, the leader of the team, calm, disciplined, the kind of man who stays completely composed when everything around him is falling apart. After a brutal ambush early in the story, he gets rebuilt with bionic parts, including a cybernetic arm that can punch through walls, and fire energy blasts so calm under pressure, plus the ability to literally punch through walls. But strip all that away, and Zach is just a dad, a husband, a man running on grief and stubborn love, with one goal he never loses sight of for a single episode. What that goal is, and what it costs him, is something the story keeps circling back to, and you'll understand why the moment the pilot ends. Right next to him is Shane Gooseman, who everyone just calls Goose. And Goose is the kind of character who takes about 3 episodes to fully understand and then never leaves your head. He wasn't born, he was engineered in a lab as part of a super soldier program called the Super Troopers. He can shapeshift, heal from almost any wound, absorb energy attacks, and physically adapt to whatever environment gets thrown at him. Picture Clint Eastwood with the ability to turn his skin into armor on command, a rebel streak that makes him nearly impossible to manage, and a past that explains every single one of his edges, and that's Goose. The team's heaviest hitter, and the one most likely to already be inside the firefight, while everyone else is still reading the map. Then there's Nico, and Nico is the one people underestimate until it's too late. She reads minds, moves objects with telekinesis, projects force shields, and operates on an intuition level that borders on outright supernatural. She also grew up on an alien world, has a degree in archaeology, and is a trained martial arts expert, which means she's quietly the most dangerous person on a team that includes a genetically engineered super soldier. She and Goose have this slow burn tension between them that runs through the entire series, never stated, never resolved, just always sitting there underneath every scene they share. And the last one is Walter Hartford, that is Doc. And Doc is the reason this team doesn't completely fall apart under pressure. He's a genius hacker who fights with a sword and a gun, talks to artificial intelligences like they're his actual patients, and cracks any computer system in the galaxy using holographic programs he calls tweakers. He's also genuinely the funniest person in every room he walks into without even trying. Tense moment, Doc has a line, "Impossible tech problem?" Doc has a solution, and a joke about the solution immediately after. These 4 people couldn't be more different from each other, and that friction is exactly what makes them work. But before you see how they work together, you need to understand the world they're working in. The galaxy in this show is called the New Frontier, and that name is not an accident. Every colony planet the Rangers visit feels like a different corner of the American Old West, rocky moons with mining crews barely surviving their shifts, farm settlements being picked apart by space pirates, backwater towns with one exhausted sheriff and nobody coming to back him up. Take every classic Western you've ever seen, launch it into space, replace the horses with laser-powered robot steeds that are sentient and have opinions. Yes, really. The horses talk back, and the show treats this as completely normal, and that's the world these 4 are policing every single day. Bureau of Extraterrestrial Affairs runs the operation from Earth and orbit, acting as part military, part government, part frontier marshal service, stretched across dozens of star systems. It sounds like a lot to hold together. It is, and the reason it keeps threatening to collapse is the enemy sitting on the other side of the galaxy, and she is genuinely one of the most disturbing villains ever written for a kids' show. The Queen of the Crown has been ruling her empire for longer than anyone alive can trace, and the way she stays powerful is by collecting people's minds. Not their bodies, their minds. She uses technology called psychocrystals, dark, glowing gems that can trap a person's consciousness inside a crystal prison, while their empty body stays behind, still breathing, still alive, just completely hollow. The victims become living batteries, powering her weapons, her ships, and her armies. The Crown Empire has been doing this across dozens of species for centuries, and humanity, with its unusually high psychic potential, just became her next major target. That context matters, because the moment you understand what she does and what she wants, the pilot episode stops being an action opener and turns into something that actually stings. Which brings us to where this story actually begins. The pilot episode is called Phoenix, and it earns that name in the most painful way possible. Waldo and Zozo arrive on Earth with their gift of faster-than-light travel. Negotiations are going well. Humanity is excited about the stars, and then the Queen makes her move. Her forces sweep in without warning, and it's not a raid, it's a harvest. Multiple humans are captured immediately, their minds targeted for the Queen's psychocrystals. Among them is Eliza Fox, Zack's wife, and she's taken before he can get to her. Zack himself takes wounds that should have ended him right there. He survives. She doesn't escape. Eliza's mind is torn from her body and sealed inside one of the Queen's crystals. Her body is left behind, alive and breathing, but completely empty, no memory, no self, no Eliza. Just a shell. And Zack wakes up in a Bureau of Extraterrestrial Affairs medical bay, half rebuilt, with nothing left to hold on to except the job. That moment is the foundation the entire series is built on. Every mission Zack takes, every risk he pushes through, every impossible call he makes, it all traces back to that one moment in the pilot when he wasn't fast enough. Bureau of Extraterrestrial Affairs responds by forming the series, 5 Galaxy Rangers, putting Zack in charge, bringing in Goose, Nico, and Doc, and sending all 4 of them out into the frontier. Early on, the missions are straightforward: chasing smugglers, protecting mining colonies, shutting down outlaws like the Black Hole Gang. The team is still learning each other, still working out the friction, and the stakes feel manageable. But even in those early missions, every thread keeps pointing back to the same place: the Queen is still operating. Her psychocrystal program is still running, and Eliza is still in there. And the moment the Rangers start making real progress is exactly when the Crown Empire decides to stop holding back, and what happens next changes the entire scale of the story. In the beginning, the Rangers are playing catch-up, and there's almost too much frontier to cover. They handle everything: hostage situations, alien territory disputes, resource wars between colonies, criminals who've had years to dig in before anyone with authority showed up. This is where the team earns its reputation. Zack leads with precision. Goose handles the situations nobody else can get into. Nico reads what's coming before it arrives. And Doc handles everything that runs on electricity. They start freeing some of the Queen's kidnapped victims. Zack gets his first real leads on Eliza's location. The galaxy starts to believe these 4 might actually matter. And that belief is what triggers the Crown Empire's next move. The Queen stops sending scouts and starts deploying Slaverlords, her personal elite commanders, to expand her territory with force. She starts stealing ancient star stones, powerful relics that can supercharge her psychocrystals and weapons to a completely different level. She tests planet-scale destruction on colonies that refuse to cooperate, just to make a point. The Rangers shift from reactive to aggressive. Nico's psychic abilities become critical for detecting psychocrystal energy before it can be weaponized. Goose gets into Crown facilities that should be completely impenetrable. Doc cracks encryption that B2's best analysts had given up on. They're hitting the Crown Empire directly now, and it's working, which is also when Goose's past comes back and makes everything significantly more complicated. The Super Trooper program that created Goose had other graduates, and some of them didn't make it out with their conscience intact. These aren't just dangerous people, they have the exact same impossible abilities as Goose, the same military training, and none of the reasons to hold back. They're scattered across the galaxy now, working for whoever pays or just running loose. And Goose has to hunt people who grew up in the same lab he did. People who know exactly how he was built and exactly where he breaks. The galaxy starts asking a quiet question during this stretch: if those super troopers went rogue, What's actually keeping Goose from doing the same? It's a question that gets taken seriously enough to put Goose's loyalty on trial, and what that does to the team is something the story handles in a way most shows at this level simply don't bother, to which leads directly into the part of the series that actually sets it apart from everything else on TV in 1986. Instead of keeping the pace at mission-to-mission momentum, the show slows down and actually goes inside each character. Zack gets episodes where he physically enters the psycho-crystal realm, a nightmare landscape built from the trapped minds of everyone the Queen has ever harvested. Somewhere inside it is Eliza. He can hear her, almost touch her. He fights through it every time to get closer, and every time he has to walk back out without her, leaving a little more of himself behind each visit. Those episodes carry a weight that nothing else in 1986 animation was even attempting, and they reframe every action scene before and after them. Goose's spotlight episodes dig into the lab, the program, and the moment he understood that to the people who made him, he was property with combat stats, not a person. Every edge he has stops looking like attitude and starts looking like armor built out of necessity. Nico's backstory opens up into a psychic heritage she's only beginning to map. A lost colony, ancient alien knowledge pointing towards something the story is slowly building toward. Her stillness isn't personality, it's what survived a childhood of abilities nobody could explain to her. And Doc's episodes go somewhere genuinely unexpected, exploring whether the AIs he talks to every day actually experience anything, whether consciousness has a minimum requirement, or whether his tweaker programs are more alive than anyone realizes. For a kid's cartoon in 1986, that conversation has no right to be as thoughtful as it is. The team builds real alliances through all of this, the planet Tarkon becomes a major partner in the resistance, and the galaxy starts organizing around the idea that the Queen can be stopped. Which is exactly the moment she stops treating the Rangers as a problem and starts treating them as a target. The Queen begins using what she knows about each of them personally. She knows Zack's weakness is Eliza. She knows Goose's is his past. She starts pulling both threads at once. And the Rangers respond by launching the most dangerous operations they've run, yet direct raids on Crown strongholds, deep in enemy territory, space battles against the Crown Armada, missions against ancient weapons that nobody alive knew how to stop until the moment they had to. The stakes stop being about frontier law entirely. It becomes about whether Earth survives, whether the colonies hold, whether every free species in the galaxy makes it through what's coming. Everything at once, all of it on the line, and Zack still showing up every single day because every Crown outpost they take down is one step closer to the crystal holding his wife. The moments that hit hardest aren't the biggest battles, they're the ones that change what you understand about the story you've been watching. Eliza's capture in the pilot is obviously the first, because it's the wound the entire series keeps returning to. Everything Zack does, every call he makes, every time he pushes past what should be his limit, it all leads back to that one moment. But the Psycho Crypt episodes are where the show goes somewhere genuinely uncomfortable. The crystal realm Zack enters is built from the minds of the Queen's victims, echoes of people who've been harvested, fragments of stolen consciousness. Eliza's own voice, somewhere in the middle of all of it. He can reach her, he can almost bring her back, and then he has to leave. Every single time. That ongoing heartbreak is the kind of thing that sticks, and it recontextualizes every moment of calm the show gives you before and after. The Super Trooper duology is the trust arc, and it matters more than it might seem on the surface. Goose gets formally accused of treason, his loyalty gets questioned in public, and the Rangers have to decide whether they believe him not as an asset but as a person. It nearly breaks the team, and the fact that it doesn't is a choice they all make deliberately. The direct assault on the Queen's lair is the series at its most declarative, not a surgical strike, not a rescue op, just 4 people going into the heart of enemy territory to say, "We know where you are, and we're not afraid of you." And the finale, Heartbeat, which centers on Doc of all people, brings everything to a confrontation that doesn't wrap cleanly because this show knew that a clean ending would have been a lie. What actually holds all of this together isn't the mythology or the action, it's the fact that these 4 people genuinely like each other. Not because the story needs them to, because they've chosen to, repeatedly, under conditions that gave them every reason not to. They argue. They push each other's limits. Goose and Doc bicker like they were raised in the same annoying household. Zack's focus burns hot enough to make everyone around him uncomfortable sometimes. and the second one of them is in real danger. Every other priority disappears instantly. Zack says it plainly, at one point the day we don't trust each other is the day the Galaxy Rangers are finished. It lands because in this show, trust is never assumed. It's something each of them earns from the others over 65 episodes, and the moments where that trust gets tested, really tested, not just dramatized, are the ones that define what this team actually is. Nico and Goose's connection runs underneath the whole series without ever being named directly. It lives in how he watches her when he thinks she's not looking, and in how she always knows exactly where he is without asking. Some things communicate better without words. And Zack carries all of it forward on nothing but stubborn love for Eliza, for his kids, for three people who became the only family he had left after the pilot took everything else. The series runs 65 episodes and ends with Heartbeat, the finale centered on Doc, which turns out to be exactly right. Because Doc is what this show is always best at. Not the most powerful, not the most tragic, just a genuinely good person who chose to be in the middle of something impossible because it was worth being part of. By the time the finale arrives, the Crown Empire has taken serious damage. The Rangers have torn apart operation after operation, freed hundreds of prisoners, and given the galaxy something it didn't have when this all started, an actual reason to believe things can get better. But the Queen is still out there, and Eliza is still in the crystal. There's no rescue, no reunion, no ending where Zack finally gets his wife back and the credits roll over something warm and resolved. The show was canceled before that arc could close, and as genuinely painful as that is, it's also the most honest thing the story could have done because the frontier didn't end with one clean victory. It was a long, grinding, daily fight to build something worth protecting. These four Rangers are still out there, still together, still patrolling, still saying it with everything they have: no guts, no glory. That's the story of Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, a show that arrived 10 years before the industry was ready for it, got quietly forgotten, and still holds up better than most things made today. Real characters, real stakes, a villain who understood what she was doing and did it anyway, and four people who chose each other every single day in a galaxy that gave them every reason not to. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely keeps this channel going and makes it possible to cover more shows that deserve better than what they got. And speaking of shows that deserve better, if you want another forgotten 80s classic with incredible action, cooler vehicles than anything on TV today, and a story worth knowing, check out the entire story of Mask right after this. It's sitting there waiting for you. Thanks for watching. No guts, no glory.